Even your emotion had an echo in so much space. When you out there without care, I was out of tone. But it wasn't because I didn't know, no. I just knew too much. Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Possibly. I hope that you're having the time of your life. Think twice. That's my only advice. Oh, who do you think you are? Oh, bless your soul. I think you're crazy. I think you're crazy. I think you're crazy. Just like me. My heroes had it hard, lose their lives out on the land.
All I remember.
Think I want to be like them.
Oh,
Yay.
ever since I was little. Ever since I was little. Hey, everybody. It's a beautiful Saturday evening, actually. It's a Saturday evening. I know, as is my custom, please forgive my redundancy, forgive my repetitiveness. Please tell me in the comments below if I'm loud and clear so that we can get the show on the road. I'm not even sure. Did I share with you guys a few days ago, and this is one of the most amazing things about the human body, the human anatomy. A few days ago, I bit the back of my tongue. It was so delicious, I bit my tongue. And I bit the back of my tongue, and it was it was a deep sort of, but miraculous, well, not miraculously. I just love the fact that the human body fixes itself. I'm not in as much pain as I was a few days ago. Of course, the pain has subsided. The pain has reduced because the body heals itself. Guys, let's talk about this. I want to give you context. Now, I'm assuming that there's some of you that are jumping on now that may not be aware of who we're talking about today, what we're discussing, and why we're discussing it. Let me just bring you up to speed. A few shout outs before we do that. Who is that? Watching you from the Congo. You're loud and clear, no reflector. No, I chose not to do it. I chose not to wear it, because it's bright in here as it is already. Thank you, loud and clear. How are you? We can hear you, somebody says. Watching, hey, there's my friend Joseph Chishimba from Solihull, England. He's usually here, and I appreciate him being here. Thank you, Joseph. I appreciate you so much. Somebody here says, Prince says, I watched the interview. The man, he doesn't even know what that venture capitalist He's a person who does crowdfunding to invest in a particular product for all investors. We'll get into it. Today, we're talking about, and I've been discussing for the last few days, this gentleman here. His name is CHILEKWA MWAMBWE, who touts himself as an entrepreneur and someone that solicits your investment. Now, before I begin, let me first of all say, a few years ago, Bill Cosby had been taken to court for allegedly raping multiple women. Now, back in the 80s, Bill Cosby was like God. He was like America's father. He was like America's TV dad. And these things, these indiscretions with women, the allegations of rape, the allegations of him sedating women for the purpose of sexually violating them. Sedating means, he's sitting in a room with the woman, he puts something in your drink, you fall asleep, you become sedate, you faint or you fall asleep because of that drug that he put in the woman's drink. She drinks it, she falls asleep, and then he has sex with her. Well, it used to happen in the 80s, but one of the questions that was asked of one woman that experienced this in the 80s, they asked her the question, they said, but why didn't you tell anybody? She said, who could I tell? The whole nation was in love with Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby was America's father. Bill Cosby was America's TV dad. And here it is, one lone woman. Lone means alone. One lone, L-O-N-E. That sounds a bit redundant, but that's fine. You get the point. A lone woman, a woman by herself, standing on top of a mountain, saying that Bill Cosby raped me. She said, had I done that in the 80s, nobody would have believed me. So where was the difference? The difference was when woman after woman after woman after woman, and before you knew it, there was a whole sea of women telling the same story. Now, honey, my father used to say, if 3 different people complain about you on the same issue, guess what? Guess who the common denominator is? Go ahead and tell me in the comments. If 3 different unrelated people say the same thing about you, or they give the same complaint about you, guess who the problem is? Guess who the common denominator in that equation is? It's you. And here it is. We have had a multiplicity of multitudinous tens of hundreds of people across the globe in the diaspora, America, England, different parts of the world, here in Zambia, parts of the Congo, in the Southern Hemisphere, saying the same thing about one guy. Now, before you start calling me a moral policeman, you better think again, because that's not what this is. It's got nothing to do with perfection or touting myself as the moral policeman. No, I'm just a member of the community. The same way you are a member of the community. There's an old saying, when you see something, say something. When you see something, it doesn't matter who it is. As long as you see something, say something. So for those of you that are riding this high horse of, oh, well, MWEWA thinks he's the policeman of the world, nothing could be further from the truth. I'm just a member of the community. That's it. So I said all that to say this, that now we have had so many people complain, say the same thing about this one man. Obviously, there is a problem. Now, as you know, when we first brought this to the fore, that there was a problem with this company called the Zambia Savings and Credit Union Cooperative Society, which is, it's headed by this gentleman, Mr. CHILEKWA MWAMBWE. This cooperative or this entity has a multiplicity of different so-called businesses. He's asked many people to invest in Ubuntu cooking oil, mining, poultry, watermelon, name it. The guy has asked his followers and his membership to invest in all of these things. But here's the caveat. Here's the strange thing. He has never himself invested his personal money in any of these ventures. And any time you hear someone ask you to invest in something that they themselves are not investing in, honey, you run from that man like you would run from a boa constrictor. A boa constrictor. You run from that man like you would run from a Gabon viper. He is lying through his teeth and the truth is not in him. Run. It's like a church pastor. Any pastor that stands up and says to the congregation, oh, we're building a church, and I want every one of you to give 10,000 kwacha. If the pastor himself can't give 10,000 bucks to that project, honey, you run from that pastor. He's got the devil in him. I'm telling you right now. So my point is, none of the projects that he's ever touted, whether it's mining, whether it's oil, whether it's watermelon, none of them, none of these ventures, he has never dropped one single kwacha in any of them. And yet he stands and asks you to invest. Why? Because he would rather risk other people's money than risk his own money. Ooh, that's deep. That's big there somewhere. I'm sure they teach that at business school. I'm sure they teach that at the University of Zambia. Somewhere they teach that. Don't they teach that? They should teach that. It's a red flag. I'm telling you right now. So here it is. One of the businesses, like I've said, this cooking oil business. And here it is, CHILEKWA MWAMBWE has asked many of his members to pay a membership fee. Some paid 250 kwacha, some paid 350 to become a member of this cooperative. He's made millions from this, money that was non-refundable. But here it is. After you become a member, then he asks you to invest. And that's where the problem was, is that the investment was not reaping any type of dividends benefits. And people began to complain. I mean, I could give you a list. Oh, the list is so endless, it's exhausting. Let's just go ahead and put it that way. It's endless, it's exhausting. We would be here till rapture. Okay, so here it is. When we put this out, CHILEKWA himself called me. He reached out to me. And usually I don't like doing this. I don't like, especially when this type of conning, this type of deception, because, you know, these are smooth talkers. They're smooth criminals. Michael Jackson called them smooth criminals. These are guys, when you sit down with them, those people are dangerous because they pour oil into your ear. So he calls me up and he reaches out to me. He says, Mr. MWEWA, I'd like to come over to your platform and I'd like to talk to you. I said, look, if you're going to come over, the only way I can speak to you is if you agree to do a live interview. Nothing can be conjured. Nothing could be manufactured. Everything has to be as it is. He refused. He didn't want that. He said, am I safe? What if I'm ambushed? I said, who would ambush you here? This is Simoson building. This is a private entity. This is a private business. Nobody's going to hurt you. He says, okay, I'll be there 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock the next day showed up. We got to 10 o'clock the very next day. He was nowhere to be seen. 10:37, I posted the look. This guy said he was going to be here. He didn't show up. A short time after that, Reverend Walter MWAMBAZI, whom some of you know, whom many of you know, opened his doors to have this CHILEKWA come over on his show and do a live broadcast. He agreed to that. Earlier, he had gone to Diamond TV where he sat and he talked, and everything he said didn't make any sense. And guys, I must tell you, the interview that he did with Walter was almost 2 hours long. And I'll never forget, a former IBM CEO once said that if you can't explain something simply and in simple terms, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Ooh, that's deep. It's deep, boy. Go ahead. Tell me in the comments below if that resonates with you. Tell me in the comments below if that sizzles in your spirit. Tell me in the comments below if that settles in your cerebellum. Somebody go ahead and break that down for me, because I'm going to say it again. I think it's important. Go ahead, break it down for me. I want to hear you say it. I want to hear you say it. Exactly. Let's say it again. If you can't explain something in simple terms, if you can't explain something simply, then you don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're bobbing and weaving, you're left, right, you're up, down, you're hot, cold, you're everywhere. But you're not explaining what it is you're doing. CHILEKWA MWAMBWE. Jack of all trades, a master of none. Talks a big game, but there is no substance there. So here it is. Reverend Walter MWAMBAZI, whom, to be honest with you, I think he should have declared interest. Because the way that interview went, first of all, it was just too long. I mean, who the hell has 2 hours to waste listening to one person talk? I mean, I love people, but I'm not going to sit for 2 hours and watch it talk. I'm not doing that. You got to say what you got to say in 15, 20, 35 minutes max. Shut the door and go home. Turn the lights off. But here it is, 2 hours. Back, forth, left, right, hot, cold, here, there. Couldn't get what the hell he was talking about. So, and the reason I say that Walter MWAMBAZI should have declared some type of interest, because the interview to me was very obvious that Reverend MWAMBAZI was what's the word? Pandering. That's the word. He was pandering. You know, he was like he was with him, you know, but then at one point he tried to sound like he was, you know, trying to hold him accountable. And then it was like he was trying to, you know, pat him on the back and give him a hug and say, look, it's going to be okay. And the feeling, the ambiance of the interview was, you know what? Some things are out of your control. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? I mean, you're not God. Now, I'm paraphrasing. I'm not quoting verbatim. I'm describing to you the spirit of the interview. The spirit of the interview was, it wasn't hard hitting. He wasn't giving him the questions. He was pandering to him. He was basically saying, listen, man, you're human. I mean, good Lord, who's perfect? I mean, look, man, your intentions are pure. After all, there are no perfect people, only perfect intentions. And who are we to expect the best from you? Sometimes you're going to fall off the wagon. And when you do that, we're going to hold your hand. What? Y'all have lost y'all's minds. No, man, you're talking about other people's money is what it is. Now, I have full disclosure, I got to tell you, because, you know, this is where we are. I mean, Walter's a friend of mine. I know him. Walter hits me up yesterday. Hits me up means he calls me. He gets in touch with me. He says, MWEWA, could you give me the contact details of the people that complained about CHILEKWA? I said, I'll be happy to do that because they want you to do that. So I give him all the details. They gave Walter questions to ask CHILEKWA, pertinent questions. Pertinent means important, vital questions, heavy hitting questions. Walter didn't ask any of those. Walter pandered to him. He kept on patting him on the back. Let me give you a hug. It's going to be fine. We all make mistakes. You're not perfect. That was the spirit of that interview. Okay? Now, let me give you some of the questions that Walter was given by the complainants. And trust me, they are many. They're an ocean of complainants. An ocean of them. So here it is. I'm going to give you just a few. Okay? Number one. Here's a question. How much of his money has he invested in organic cooking oil? Sean Tembo, 0. He gave him a Sean. I mean, the answer is Sean Tembo. The answer is 0. Number 2. How many people opted out of the cooking oil project and how much is owed to them collectively? Sean Tembo. He didn't say anything. He didn't ask that question. Number 3. How many? Oh, sorry. Number 3. Number 3. Sorry. Has he ever produced a single bottle of oil? Sean Tembo. Number 4. Why does he block paid members from his WhatsApp group when they challenge him on issues of non-payment? No answer. Number 5. I should have said 4. Here, let me correct it. Because, you know, somebody's on here is going to say, no, you can't put that there, MWEWA. Number 5. CHILEKWA MWAMBWE claims he's running a big enterprise. Because this is one of the things. You know, this thing, they are shareholders, they are the company. Well, he claims he's running a big enterprise. Who are the directors? Who's the general manager? Who's the marketing manager? Who's the accountant? Who's head of procurement? Nobody. And lastly, what's his physical address? Now, very conveniently, CHILEKWA says, no, I live on Chandra Musonda Road. Our offices are still there at government complex. Anyone who complains, if you find the door locked, just put your documents underneath the door there. We shall quite a big enterprise. The people are never there. When the door is locked, you are simply encouraged. Go to government complex when the offices are closed. Just to slip your documents through the door. Serious. That's why Zambians were Dwanzi. Someone gives you such an explanation, and you believe that? No wonder. Kushipuloko. Awe chine chinali kwa the office no matabako. Tatumusanga iyo. But kwena office opoyama. Stop making excuses for crooks. Lastly, he says he's going to sue. Honey, my father always said, it is the nature of man to sue and to be sued. So what's strange about that? And then he says, I'll make sure Mr. MWEWA goes back to Chimbokaina. Honey, I was never at Chimbokaina. It was Kamwala remand. Get it right. Goodness gracious. Must I teach you everything? Anyway. All right, here it is. Let's read some of your comments. It was Sean Tembo necessary. Yes, it was. Sean Tembo, the name Sean Tembo can be used interchangeably with the number 0. You know, for example, you can say, I went to the grocery store, but I didn't get a Sean Tembo. That means you went to the grocery store, but you didn't get anything. You came back with Sean Tembo. Yeah, it was necessary. All righty. Here it is. Soko says, Chilekwa was just going around in circles during the REV's interview, even talking about the opportunities he has missed because of the DEC. Con man, from his explanation, you meant to say his, not he's, HIS, his explanation, it seems like he doesn't know whether he's coming or going. So guys, the bottom line is this. It is disingenuous. It is disingenuous for CHILEKWA to come across like nothing is wrong. There's lots that is wrong. There's a huge problem there, and it must be addressed. Okay? All right. 26 minutes. Now, that's a good time. I would be worried if I sat here for 2 hours talking to you guys for 2 hours. Who's going to listen to me for 2 hours? I'm lucky if you listen to me for 10 minutes. But 2 hours? No, man. Rev, you're reaching. You were reaching. I mean, that was a bit too much. I couldn't handle that. I had to listen to you in bite-sized chunks. It had to be in doses. Dentine. Goodness gracious alive. All righty. Thanks for listening, guys. God bless you. Good night.